Hey guys, welcome to the Doghouse Podcast. On this week's episode, I had the opportunity of being on the Coach Hayes film room from YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Had a great conversation as we did a deep dive on the Georgia linebacker room, and we answered the big question: is this the best linebacker core in all of college football? Make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse Podcast. That really helps out.
In my next segment, I am joined by Trey Tucker with the Doghouse Podcast. He is out of the North Carolina area. I believe you said the Charlotte area. Trey and I have gotten to know each other over the last 2 years since I started at Coach Hayes Huddle. Trey was on the Warpath as well out there doing his podcast, and we linked up that way. And he's had me on his show a couple of times, and I've really enjoyed being on there. He has a lot of great guests on there. There's the guy from Missouri is the one that I want to talk to him about, because I think he's a great guest that you had on there as well. Skeeter, that was his name, believe it or not. But, man, great knowledge, has great understanding of the SEC, not only with Missouri football, but also had a lot of good things to say about the Dogs. But, Trey, I appreciate you being on with me tonight as we talk a little linebacker action. And welcome to the show. How you doing this evening?
Hey, appreciate you having me on, Coach Hayes. You've been always a great guest coming on Doghouse Podcast. And actually, one of them was probably one of the highest viewed. I think we had close to 4,000 views and added a bunch of subscribers. So it's always a pleasure to collaborate with you.
Hey, no problem, Trey. Like I said, I just appreciate your time and efforts to be on with me tonight as we begin to talk about fall football, because when we get to fall football, it gets really a feeling of just realness. You know, even though maybe fall weather is not in the air, we may be dealing with a little false fall action right now. I think that we are beginning to feel the vibes of what it's like to see our Bulldogs in the red and black getting after it out there August 30th against Marshall. And before we get diving into the linebacker action, I just wanted to go ahead and talk to you about, like, if my viewers or subscribers, the people who are out there watching the show tonight, if they want to catch you somewhere, I just want to know where they can find you at. What's your social media handles and all the things they can find you?
Yeah, appreciate that. So, yeah, we're on YouTube at Doghouse Podcast. Make sure and look for the red Doghouse logo. There's some other Doghouse podcasts that are totally different industries. But, yeah, we're at 620 subscribers and growing. What we usually try to focus on, or at least I do, I've been doing it probably 8-9 years, but got real particular about it last 3 years and all in, is we try to have, at least during the season, a person from each team, for example, Marshall or Auburn or Alabama, in the YouTube world, and we kind of come on and collaborate. So it's good to hear from enemy lines over there. So we try to have that as well. We're on Twitter at Doghouse Talk, and we're at the Doghouse Podcast on Instagram as well. So, yeah, it'd be great if you can come over and like, subscribe, and comment, and come join the community.
That's great. I think, honestly, to tell you the truth, it has been so awesome since I started the brand of Coach Hayes Huddle to meet and network with all the different people that I would have never have known if I hadn't had the chance to just be in this world, this genre that we're in now, which is just, in a sense, this community of podcasters talking about passionate things that we love, which is Georgia football. And like I said, it gave me a chance to meet you as well through this process. And I definitely appreciate our friendship and time on here. So let's get to what we're wanting to talk about, Trey. Obviously, as we look into the fall season and we look at the position groups, personnel-wise, I broke down running backs last week. This week, we're looking at the linebacker core, which honestly, you could probably say that they are the most experienced group, probably the most stacked group, maybe other than the tight end group that Coach Hartley, that beast of a machine he's got over there with the tight ends. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the linebacker core, because what we do have at the inside linebacker core are two solid veterans who have had basically a growing pain season, a sophomore season, and now they're going into junior years where you would say that this could be their bag year, or you could be at least saying that they're going to be setting up a tone for this year to be something special at that inside linebacker position. But wait, there's people behind them. You think about Chris Cole, you think about Justin Williams, you think about a five-star linebacker and what they got with Zayden Walker. You think about an A.J. Crua who committed and flipped from, where was he at? North Carolina, and then flipped over to Georgia at the last second. You've also got people like Terrell Foster, who's waited his turn and not gone anywhere either, that provides depth there too. But, that's what's unique in having a lot of talent that has a very high ceiling that we've seen just bits and pieces of from the backup guys. We know what CJ and Raylen can do. What I wanted to ask you was, if we have a successful year this year, do you feel like it's going to fall completely on CJ and Raylen to be sort of the anchors at that inside linebacker position? Or do you feel like there's going to be some other guys that are going to be competing for that spot with rotations, as they like to do, to be able to show more success this year, because we see more faces out there having fun, getting after it, showing that athletic ability, and there's no drop off when those twos go out there to play, or if you want to call them twos, to go out there and play. So I'm just interested to hear your take on what linebacker like combinations you would like to see, where we're really having those great conversations on Monday morning at the water cooler about.
Yeah, definitely. The alphas are definitely going to be CJ Allen and Raylen Wilson, but I think the dark horse, as we were talking about earlier, and I've been hearing he's the freaky freak, is going to be Chris Cole. I think this is his breakout year. Side to side, he's long, tackles well, and I think they're gonna rotate, because I always think Kirby likes to shift guys in and out, because he likes to he knows this is going to be a long season, and he's not going to play tons of snaps. So I think in Justin Williams, he's going to come in and have a great year. And I know they're going to have the comparison with CJ Allen and Roquan Smith. You can't throw – I'm sorry, Roquan Smith. You're not going to throw that name around. One question for you real quick. I wanted to see, out of these kind of up-and-comers, which one of them maybe was similar to Nakobe Dean, because he was great when he was at Georgia. So I wanted to kind of ask that.
He was. Nakobe was very unique in his style, because Nakobe wasn't necessarily a taller kid. I think he fit more the frame of what like Raylen and CJ are as far as size. He was undersized, but what I say undersized, when you're a linebacker at inside off the ball, being 6 foot tall, 6'1", there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It actually allows you to get to the football a little bit better and get up underneath those big offensive linemen. But Nakobe, just because of his leadership skills, the one thing I know this year that I've said more than once, that CJ Allen has got to be not only the leader of this defense, he needs to be really the head moniker, the leader of this football team, along with, your quarterback on the other side and Gunner, and those people that want to step up on the offensive line. He needs to be that vocal spokesperson, that spearhead that takes control. And to me, that's what Nakobe did. You go back to the national championship in 2021, and you watch how he crawls Channing Tindall's ass after he makes a bad play on the man-to-man, gets in his way and almost costs him the touchdown right there. But that's what leadership is. And, it's unique to say in today's time. Coach Hartley said it today. I know T-Rob said it today in the staff meetings that they had with the pressers that came in. It was awesome to get to hear Hartley and Coach T-Rob and Coach Bobo and Coach Schumann be able to talk and actually give you some insight on things. Believe it or not, in today's time, you would think that everybody that comes to the University of Georgia as a D1 athlete are just these profound leaders. And believe it or not, they're having as much trouble finding that vocal leadership from people in today's world, because a lot of kids are just quiet. And they have to create that out of them. He was mentioning, I know T-Rob mentioned KJ Bolding being that person that's kind of being forced into that scenario, because he had Dan Jackson and Malachi Starks that are now vacated to the NFL. So if to answer your question, I would say there's no doubt, without a doubt, that CJ Allen is probably the vocal leader, what you're probably going to see out of what Nakobe Dean did as well. But I'm going to tell you someone else, and I like Chris Cole, obviously, but this is going to be the year we're finally going to get Justin Williams on some tape. I think Justin Williams is finally going to get some rotations in this year, very similar to what we saw when Raylen was getting into the ball game back when Nakobe and Quay were playing, where we got to see those guys get some playing time, because we're rotating kids in, especially, let's say offensively, we're doing pretty well. We're up a couple of touchdowns, and all of a sudden it feels like that good rotational time where Chris Cole and Justin Williams can go in. And, we're rotating two inside linebackers in to get reps for one series, or maybe even two series. Who knows? So I think that's a big deal with Justin Williams as well. But, when you look at it, there's another guy here on the list, Terrell Foster. Terrell Foster is a guy who's waited his turn. He's been patient. He didn't go to the portal. And honestly, I don't know what we'll see. I got to see him in the G-Day game a little bit, got the chance to play a little bit at that inside linebacker. I don't know how much he's going to help necessarily, but he still provides that added depth that you want to have at practice, because he's a leader out there, probably working in leadership roles because he has veteranship, but also, too, someone that's waited his turn, understands the qualities that they have in the standard. and wants them to do well out there. So just adds depth and helps. But I love the fact that you're thinking Chris Cole's going to help, because he is. There's no doubt, based off what he did last year in certain downs and situations, being a third down specialist, going out on passing situations. I'm actually going to do a breakdown on him later. But I think Justin Williams finally has a little bit of a breakout year as well, because of the fact he's going to get plenty of rotation. He's going to have the opportunity to get some more reps on film. And then when we see him out there, just like any other kid that gets to go out there and play, maximize his potential when he's on the field. So, that's my feeling on your question about Nakobe and who's going to kind of fit that leadership role there. And I'm also very interested in what you had to say there with Chris Cole, because I think a lot of people are excited about him. Any additional things maybe that just kind of stand out to you about the linebacker room?
Yeah, just how deep it is. And you just got a bunch of alpha dogs. And I think, last year they struggled. Well, the whole defense struggled at stopping the run, and that's going to be a big emphasis on the summer camp. So you're going to see these guys that are athletic and go from side to side and tackle well. And I think if they can get some help from the D-line with Christian Miller, if he's healthy, I'm going to probably butcher his name, Dozie, which you've been hearing great things. And then if Elijah Griffith is as advertised, I think all that is going to help, because, if you stop it up there and clog it up, linebackers can go and, as Jordan Davis said, two on me, somebody's free. Clog up the hole, man, and they can let them do their thing. So I think that's going to be big if the defensive line can get a push and have it.
You're exactly right. And honestly, I don't think the defensive line got enough credit. I think that sometimes gets pushed to the kind of down when you're trying to talk about great linebacker play. Nakobe and Quay Walker and Channing Tindall don't have the year they have if they don't have that front up there doing their job. And that was elite talent we had up there. I mean, all those guys are in the NFL now. When you look across the board from, what Jordan Davis did, of course, Jalen Carter, but you look at Devontae White, another guy that's, having solid NFL time with the Green Bay Packers. Nolan Smith, obviously, at the end. I mean, doing their job. Trayvon Walker prior to that. So, I mean, you keep naming off these names, and all these guys are level one, day one NFL draftees. And, there's a reason why that linebacker play had something to do. So I agree with you. Mentioning the defensive line is key, because it's the same principle on the offensive side of the ball. If you're running the ball well, typically that helps the passing game out. And I think that helps, with Gunnar Stockton's confidence and his ability to throw the football this year. We've got to have a ground game that complements it. It's the same thing. Our linebacker play is going to play very well if our defensive line holds up. You've got Xavier McLeod. You've got the Josh Horton kid that came from Miami. You've got Joseph Jonah-Ajonia. You got Elam Adozie out there on the edge. There's a lot of different people. Kristen Miller is obviously the staple that we want to see play at that 5-tech when he's on that side with the jack. We got Nanande Oboko, which is a name that's beginning to hear a little bit more and more about at the 0-tech, which is the guy that lines up over the center. There's a lot of different names we could throw out, but I think the biggest thing is the butterflies in the stomach. That's what's causing us to have our issues, is because there's a lot of unproven talent. We don't know what they can do because we haven't got tape on them yet. And I think that's what's beautiful about being a college fan and going out and seeing college football for the first time August 30th. And then, of course, when they play Austin Peay the next week, is we are going to finally see these youngins that we've been talking about, these blue chip kids, which, by the way, we had the highest blue chip ratio we've ever had in the kids that are on the team this year, even higher than those guys 2021 and the 2022 class. It's just unproven talent. So that's the reason why I think a lot of people are just sort of mystified, because we're just not sure, but we know what their ceiling is. So I'm really excited to see what they do this year. I appreciate your insight on that as well. Now, as I alluded to earlier, Coach Schumann was talking in his presser, and the first thing that was basically asked of him, there was little, I don't think there was the transparency was profound, is that we got to be a better tackling football team. We were piss poor last year in tackling the football. He said we can't go out there and have a game like we did against Texas and then turn around and let someone score 28 points a game on us. It just can't happen. He said, for us to be elite, as we have mentioned that word now, and it's kind of gotten put into just sort of the context of what we're trying to do as part of our standard, we can't be elite if we're inconsistent. And so what I was wanting to ask you about this year, as a fan of watching Georgia football, when you watched them last year, what is something that you want to see differently this year that's going to give you a better feeling about our defense going out there and doing what they have done in the past that's made us that championship caliber team? That consistency that Coach Schumann has talked about. As a fan, Trey, what do you think about that? What was something that would make you have a better, like I said, that nice warm fuzzy feeling about what our defense is doing next year to uphold that consistency that he talks about?
Yeah, definitely. Number one, the way the emphasis is stop the run. Because I remember one of the most annoying games was I was in Italy at the time, but we watched UMass run up and down the field. And I know it ended up being a blowout, but that wasn't good. I think they have close to 200 yards. Yes. And that wasn't a Kirby Smart defense. So stopping the run, you take that away, it's handicaps like a one-legged ass kicking contest, as they say. So if you stop that, that'll be really big. And Havoc, I think they didn't get enough pressure because probably don't have the talent as they used to. So get pressure on the quarterback more and stop the run. And then also it'd be good to have some more interceptions in the secondary. Yes. I think we were close on a lot. So if those, I know that's a lot, but stop the run would be ideal, because I always go back to this. When you look at X's and O's and you look at any stats, you outrush the other team, stop the run if you can, and win the turnover battle. You're going to be in really good shape. Not saying you'll win, but 9 times out of 10. So stop the run, and can we run the ball and do better than 102 in the nation, which was piss poor when we talked. So that's the whole other thing with the offense, but stop the run and be big.
Man, 125 yards per game rushing. We were second to last in the SEC in rushing last year, only to be ahead of LSU of all teams, it seems. And it's really unique to see us being in those categories, both defensively last year as well as what we saw offensively too. I think the one thing that we have to understand from a linebacker perspective as we close in here, and I appreciate your time with me. What I wanted to ask you, the 2 questions about Coach Schumann and understanding that consistency that we want to understand and see from their defense this year to give us a better feeling overall, because I think that's the one thing that really bugged me about the whole team last year was that inconsistent measure. It seemed like one game we'd go out there and we'd feel really good when that game was over with. You know, the Auburn game that I went to last year, there was never really any doubt that Auburn was going to beat us, but it was just sort of a humdrum type of game. When you have a Massachusetts game like the UMass game we have, that's the time when you should be beating a team 60 to 7 or 14, where you do get more of your 2s and 3s out there to get more film work on them. Even though they eventually did that, I saw there was a lot of opportunities last year that were missed where we should have taken a team and really manhandled them the way we should have, but we allowed them to stay in, and it allowed us to have to keep our 1s in longer. We never got a chance to see the 2s or the 3s participate. And I agree with you. Those inconsistencies come from the fact we've got to be able to stop the run. We've got to put them in passing down situations where we know where we can pin our ears back and get after the quarterback. But when there's inconsistencies, when you're rushing the football very well, it really makes it hard on the defense and typically puts you in binds that you don't like as a defensive coordinator. I think Coach Schumann really needs to be under the microscope as well. If Coach Bobo is going to take the flack that he takes on offense because of drop passes and, opportunities for explosive plays that, don't actually come to fruition because the kids don't execute, well, why don't we hold Coach Schumann? Everybody's saying Coach Schumann's the next big thing to be another head coach somewhere. I know that he's looking himself in the mirror if he is like me as a DC. We got to be better, because I guarantee he was embarrassed as hell. No matter beating UMass like they did, I would have been embarrassed as hell the way they ran the football on them that day, like you mentioned. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the inconsistencies that he mentioned, and something that I know as a DC, he probably looked himself in the mirror and said, what are we doing? So, uniquely enough, I think that consistency is going to be something that we got to bring back. I think I agree with you on that if we see the rush defense become more consistent and stop that run, I think that's what helps reciprocate on the other side, and hopefully we see some good things from our offensive side of the ball as well. I appreciate the Q&A there with those things. Anything else you want to add? It can be either from the defensive or the offensive side of the ball, since I've got you on tonight. Anything else you'd care to add about your expectations for the fall going into August 30th against Marshall?
So I did want to ask that, because I think all eyes are on Glenn Schumann. Do we get any – I know he's not there. Do we get any hands-on with Will Muschamp? Because I think when he was on the field, you could tell in that Texas game and then the Notre Dame game that the defense played well. I think we played enough to with just offense couldn't do anything.
Yep.
Do we get if you have him any analyst work? Because originally they said, hey, he's not going to be on the team. Then Kirby says he's with them. I think he could be a key. Just getting 50% of what he normally does is you can just tell when he's around, even on the sidelines, the defense is a little better. What's your thoughts on Will Muschamp?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Will Muschamp being a part and being some kind of integral part. I mean, him and Kirby go way back. It's like having your best friend out there on staff who also has equally the defensive repertoire knowledge that Coach Smart has. In fact, if anything, I would say that Kirby has probably learned a lot from Will. More than Will learning from Kirby. They've really bantered very well together, and I think they've mixed very well. But you're exactly right. If Coach Muschamp is any part helping T-Rob and Dante and those guys back there in the secondary, being that extra set of eyes for the defense as well to help Kirby out, it's the same thing what we've got this year in Stacey Searles when you got Lilly that was back during the Mark Rick years and Rosher, which I think is the offensive line guy that's helping Stacey. The more guys you have eyes on the football, the better you can coach, the better you have, because it's hard. I know as an offensive line coach, when you're trying to watch the point of attack where you know the ball's going and you don't get a chance to maybe see the back left side tackle, more eyes on the football allows you to see more people so that more people can get their ass chewed so that you're getting the execution you want and the chemistry you want. So you got 5 guys working together as a unit instead of 4 doing it right and 1 screwing it up, and you don't see it because you're trying to watch one spot and you miss it somewhere else. More eyes on the football. Anytime you got a Will Muschamp led area back there as an analyst watching the defensive secondary, helping T-Rob and Dante out and giving Coach Smart extra eyes to, schematics, what they're running into the coverage boundary or wide side of the field, it's just added incentive. So I agree with you on that. It's well put and something I think that will definitely help them this year. So Trey, again, if somebody caught you there at the tail end here instead of at the beginning, I'll let you plug in there where you're from and what's going on with you. So any of the listeners or subscribers out there, if you will, real quick, Trey, tell them about yourself a little bit before we let you go.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, check me out on Doghouse Podcast on YouTube. We're growing there. Got 620 subscribers. Also on Doghouse Podcast on Instagram and Doghouse Talk on Twitter. One other little thing, it's a pipe dream, but I wish it would happen, is I'd take John Gruden, analyst, anytime on the sidelines. He showed up the other day at practice. If they could give him any employment, I think that would be great. I know he's a busy guy, but hey, saw him on the sideline. I'm like, look at that guy. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
I'm not going to lie. He made my day. He followed me on Twitter about 3 or 4 months ago. And I couldn't have, the X's and O guru follows me on Twitter. So it just made my day. And to see him out there, I know he's obviously promoing and talking to Kirby. And he went in there and obviously had some conversations. I'm sure I can't imagine the conversations him and Coach Smart had in the meeting room after he got done with practice that day. But you're right. There was a little bit of excitement in me going, you know what? I know Coach Gruden gets fired up seeing good football, and I guarantee he saw some good practices out there that day. And I'm hoping maybe it got some juices flowing. Who knows? You never know. Trey, it was a pleasure being on the show with you tonight. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Hey, appreciate Coach Hayes, and go Dogs.
Yes, sir. Go Dogs.